Very good morning, children. Once again, I'm back to just explain you about the India various features in which in earlier class we have learned about the Himalayan mountains as well as the Indo-Gangetic Plain. And today we shall go for the Peninsular Plateau. The Peninsular Plateau or the Indian Plateau or the Deccan Plateau, all they refer to same. That is Peninsular Plateau. Why we call it as Peninsular Plateau? Plateau we know. We have learnt about plains, plateaus, rivers and all those things in our earlier classes. Why it is called as Peninsular Plateau? Indian Peninsula is called as a Peninsular Plateau because it is covered with seas on all the three sides. Towards the east, Bay of Bengal; towards the west, Arabian Sea; and to the south, we have Indian Ocean. So in all the three sides, if you take the southern part of India, here we have Bay of Bengal. Yes, am I right, children? And here Indian Ocean. And this side we have Arabian Sea. Isn't it? So that as it is covered on three sides with water bodies, this is called as peninsula. And the plateau that is occurred or that is formed in the southern part of our country is called as it is peninsular plateau. And let us go deep into learning about this plateau. This plateau is the, as I have earlier told, this is the one of the oldest block mound. It is one of the oldest block, or it is one of the oldest rock that is found here in our peninsular region. And it has old crystalline, hard, igneous and metamorphic rock. It is formed with the crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rock, and it is rich in mineral resources. It is very rich in mineral resources. Now you can see the northern part of India where very fertile Gangetic plain is there, and to the south we have the plateau which is rich in mineral resources. And it is one very noteworthy feature of Indian plateau or peninsular plateau is that it is slightly tilted towards the eastern side. That means the west is elevated and the east is lower in its elevation, and that is why we can say that it is slowly or slightly tilted towards the eastern side. And as such, you can observe that the rivers, these rain-fed rivers or South Indian rivers that flow from the west to east and join Bay of Bengal mostly except Narmada. So most of the rivers like River Godavari, River Kaveri, River Krishna, so almost they take origin in the western part and they flow towards the east and join Bay of Bengal. It is because the plateau here it is tilted towards the east channel. And to the southmost of this here we have Kanyakumari. We have Kanyakumari. The southmost tip of this is Kanyakumari. And this plateau, it can be divided into two parts, or we can see two types or two divisions in the plateau. Those two divisions, if you see, please do observe the physical map. Once you observe the physical map, children, yes, please zoom it to the south. Yes, if you see here, you can find the peninsular plateau in this region, that is southern part. And here, this peninsula, it has two divisions too. Those two divisions are Central Highlands and Deccan Plateau. They are Central Highlands. Here we have two divisions, Central Highlands and Deccan Plateau. The Central Highlands and Deccan Plateau. Central Highlands you can see here. That is between, if you see, between Gangetic Plain and Narmada River. This is Central Highland between Gangetic Plain and Narmada. Children, on your map which is given in page number 10. If you see there, you can see Narmada river. Yes, here between Gangetic Plain and Narmada river, we have the Central Highlands, that is Malwa Plateau. It is also called as Malwa Plateau. Central Highlands is also called as Malwa Plateau. And again, this Malwa Plateau is also having two divisions. It also has two divisions, that is western side and eastern side. The western part is called as Malwa Plateau, and the eastern side you can see Chota Nagpur Plateau. To the north, that is from between the Gangetic Plain and the Narmada river, we have the Central Highlands, and in this Central Highlands, to the west we have Malwa Plateau, and towards the east we have Chota Nagpur, and very rich in the mineral resources. And to the south of Narmada river, if you go to the south of Narmada river, we have Deccan. So this is how you have to remember it. And here in this plateau area, we find very dry atmosphere, or not too dry, but comparatively, when compared to the Gangetic Plain here, it is dry, and the rivers are also not perennial too. They are not perennial, they are rain-fed rivers. They are rain-fed rivers. Rain-fed rivers means when there is good rain, then only the rivers will be full of water. When the rains are very scanty, that is when there is any drought or such conditions, then the rivers will not have water. That is why they are called as rain-fed rivers. Whereas Himalayan rivers are perennial rivers, because throughout the year. Okay, children. So here, when it is dry and rivers are non-perennial, and that is why, suppose if the farmers of the Deccan Plateau, if they want to go for the second crop in any year, okay, for first crop, they get water from the river. But if they have to go for the second crop in the same year, then most of the farmers in this plateau area, they depend upon the tube wells or tube wells or some tanks. The water will be supplied, and that irrigation goes on. So these rivers, they are rain-fed rivers. And if you see, it is triangular. It is almost triangular. The plateau is almost triangular, and towards the north of this Deccan Plateau, Satpura, Vindhyas and Satpuras. Just look into your textbook, observe the map, you can find the Satpura mountains, which almost is in Maharashtra. These Satpura mountains are the northern boundary, and the western Ghats and eastern Ghats, they are the southwest and east boundaries of the Deccan Plateau. Okay, children, we have two divisions in the Central Highlands. This Deccan Plateau, we have in the Peninsular Plateau, we have two divisions. One is the Central Highlands, Central Highlands, and the second is the Deccan Plateau. In Central Highlands, which is also called as Malwa Plateau, we have western and eastern parts. And in the western part is called as Malwa Plateau, and the eastern part is the Chota Nagpur Plateau. And to the south of Narmada River, that is where we have this the Satpura Mountains. From Satpuras to down, it is Deccan Plateau. So if we go for the boundaries of Deccan Plateau, north Satpura, and towards the east and west we have eastern and western Ghats. So suppose tomorrow when map pointing is asked for you, where you are asked for Deccan Plateau, then you have to remember that Satpura Mountains. So the down of Satpura Mountains we have Deccan Plateau. And in this we have the other Mahadev, Maikal, Kambu, those rays on the eastern side. Okay, and here we have two Ghats which are the boundary to the Deccan Plateau chain. Eastern Ghats on the eastern side, Western Ghats on the western side. That means this side. If you go this side, you have Western Ghats here, and here Eastern Ghats here. And these Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats join the South Nilagiri mountains or Nilagiri hills, we call them as. Okay. Now, parallel to the west coast, running continuously from Sahyadri mountains, from Satpura mountains, running continuously, they are higher or elevated when compared to the Eastern Ghats. The Western Ghats, they are on the west coast, west side of our country, western boundary for the Deccan Plateau. From the Satpura mountains, they run down. Or we can say that from Ran of Kutch to Kanyakumari. Ran of Kutch, which is in Gujarat. From Ran of Kutch to Kanyakumari, from here to here, you can see these mountains run, which are called as Western Ghats. And these Western Ghats, they are continuous and they are more elevated when compared to the Eastern Ghats. And near Gudalur, which is a place in the southern part, the Nilagiri hills join the Western Ghats chain. And these Nilagiri hills, they are almost have an average height of some 2000 meters. And there it is 2000 meters of height. And Nilagiri hills, very famous because in South India there are some hill stations also like that. Udagamandalam, you might have heard. The other name of Udagamandalam is Ooty. Ooty, very famous, no? So Ooty, it is in the Nilagiri hills, which joins at a place called Gudalur with the Western Ghats. And in the Western Ghats, Doddabetta, that is 2637. Doddabetta. Have you heard, children, this? Doddabetta, which is with a height of 2637 meters of height, the highest peak in Western Ghats. And in the south, there is another higher peak also, which is higher than this, that is Anaimudi. Have you heard about it? Annamalai, in Annamalai Hills, we find Anaimudi, which is 2695 meters high. And in Nilagiri, this one is the highest. Okay, children. And we have the other Palani, Annamalai, Cardamom. Palani Hills, Tamil Nadu, whereas Cardamom Hills in Kerala. Okay, children. And in Annamalai Hills, there is another peak, which is Anaimudi, which is 2695 meters of elevation. Height. Okay, children. 1695. This is the highest peak in South India, which is on Annamalai in Annamalai. Okay, children. And next, coming to the Eastern Ghats. Coming to the Eastern Ghats, Eastern Ghats are not as high as the Western Ghats. And moreover, they are not continuous also. They are not continuous when compared to the Western Ghats. Western Ghats are continuous, whereas not so continuous. The rivers like Godavari, Krishna, they cut across these Western Ghats to join their way of thing. That is why we don't find continuous ranges or continuous hills in Eastern Ghats, which is seen in the Western Ghats. And they extend from Mahanadi Valley to the north of the Nilgiris. North of Mahanadi Valley to north of Nilgiri, they extend, and there in the south they join the Nilgiri hills. And average height generally exceeds 900 meters. Rarely exceeds 900 meters. Only very few places we find 900 meters of height of peak, but whereas is where height and elevation of and Aramakonda in Chirapalli. It's 1600 Aramakonda. Where Aramakonda is? It is at Chintapalli in AP. This is Chintapalli in Andhra Pradesh. And this is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats, which is 1680 meters. Okay, and the various other hills which are found in the various other hill ranges that are found in the Eastern Ghats are, Nallamala, Palakondalu, Veligonda, Seshachalam. Nallamala, Nallamala forest, you might have heard about Nallamala forest, where Srishalam is located at Nallamala hills. And Veligonda, Palakondalu, Seshachalam. Seshachalam is the famous Tirupati. It is located on Seshachalam hills. So these are found in the Eastern Ghats, children. And the most important feature of this peninsula region is it has black soil. Black soil where cotton grows very extensively, very fertile for cotton growing farmers, because of the volcanic activity that has taken place several million years back. Black soil, it is found here, and black soil which is very famous or very fertile for growing cotton. Very quality cotton is grown here. And next, another relief feature which we have to learn now is the desert. It is the desert, children. Can you name the desert of our country? Yes. That is, tell me the desert. What is the desert? It is the Thar Desert. Where is this desert located? It is located mostly in the western part of our country, that is mostly Rajasthan. The state of Rajasthan has been occupied mostly by the Thar Desert. The western part of Rajasthan, it has a Thar Desert, children. And you know very well what will be the climate of the Thar Desert and how it will be. Actually, this Thar Desert, it is located in the Leeward region. What do you mean by Leeward region or Leeward side? We have two types of sides, windward side and leeward side. What is windward side and what is leeward side? I'll just explain. For example, if you come across anything that this is a mountain. This is a mountain. Some moist carrying or water vapor carrying winds are blowing here, you think. Blowing this side. So when they are blowing like this, what will happen? This mountain will come and obstruct the way of these winds. And when it obstructs the way of this wind, automatically these winds will go up. Will try to go up. And you know very well, when they go up, it becomes cool, and because of that the water vapor changes into water and gives extensive rain here on this side. And this side is called as windward side. And by the time these winds, they leave the total water vapor here, they become dry and go on the other side. When they go on the other side, by that time, the total water vapor will be lost. And they become very dry. And because they become dry, they can't give any rain on the other side. So this is called as leeward side. Do you understand, children? This is windward side and this is leeward side. Leeward side of any mountain is nothing but it is that region or that side where the winds cannot give any rainfall. The monsoons or the vapor carrying winds cannot give any rainfall. So here the Thar Desert is also nothing but this desert. It is located in the leeward side of the Aravalli Mountains. Just get into the physical map on page number 10. So you can see the Aravalli Mountains here towards in the north. So if you see where the Aravalli Mountains are there, to the other side, that means to the western side, what will happen? There is no water, no rain. The winds do not carry any moisture. That is why no rains are there, and that is why towards the west of the Aravalli Mountains, the leeward side of Aravalli Mountains is formed, and because of that, they are very dry, and the rainfall also is very, very scanty, children. It almost ranges from 100 millimeters to 100 mm to 1 50 mm per annum, children. Per annum, that means per year, the rainfall is so scanty that it will be ranging between 100 and 150 millimeters only. And because of that, the climate also will be very dry. Totally arid climate, that means dry climate, and vegetation also will be very poor. Poor vegetation, dry, that is arid climate is seen here. And rainfall also is very less. And when they get rainfall, quick rainfalls they'll get. And when the quick rainfall they get, sometimes streams are formed. When a downpour of rainfall is there, and a quick downpour of rainfall will lead to some streams. But these streams are very temporary, that within short period they get absorbed or they get distinguished. They get totally disappear. They get disappear, children. And the only river is the Luni. The only river is Luni river. And this is the river. But generally, these rivers are not, they do not have enough of water to carry, or they do not have the capacity of carrying the water up to the seas to join the sea. They do not have that much of capacity because of the arid climate and scanty water. They don't, but these just get into some streams or lakes. They form some lakes or streams and they get into that rather than going and joining the sea. Whereas if we see other rivers, they go and join somewhere in the sea or ocean. But here, that doesn't happen. Now you might be wondering how these people in Thar Desert live. If you see on page number 11, you can see a settlement in Thar Desert, how the people live there, how scanty the rainfall is, how the vegetation is. And there, Indira Gandhi Canal, which is the longest canal of 650 kilometers. Canal means, Kaluva, isn't it? So 650 kilometers of canal, which is the longest canal, that is providing some water for them for the purpose of irrigation. And because of that canal, some extra acres of land, some land has come under cultivation in Rajasthan. Next, coming to the coastal plains. What are coastal plains? Yes, coast. Coast itself gives you the meaning. Coast means the west coast, east coast we talk about now. So now here we are talking about coastal plain. The coastal plains. What are coastal plains? We have two coastal plains. They are western coastal plain, and eastern coastal plain. There are two coastal plains. They are western and eastern, and they are in the South India. In the South India, that is, now as you have seen, this is South India, where this is plateau. Okay, and this narrow region. Now here you have Eastern Ghats. Okay, children, and here you have Western Ghats. And the belt of fertile soil that has been formed between the Eastern Ghats and the eastern side of the plateau. Between the Deccan Plateau and the Eastern Ghats, we have Eastern Coastal Plain, ECP. And between the Western Ghats and the peninsula, that is plateau, Deccan Plateau. Between the Deccan Plateau and Western Ghats, Western Coastal Plain, and between the Eastern Ghats and the Deccan Plateau, we have Eastern Coastal Plain. Now, Eastern Coastal Plain is between Bay of Bengal and the Deccan Plateau, or between the Eastern Ghats and Deccan Plateau. And whereas for Western Coastal Plain, we have Arabian Sea on the western side. And the western coast, this western coast, it starts from Rann of Kutch in Gujarat up to the Kanyakumari, and it is narrower than eastern coast. It is narrow. The western coast is narrow when compared to the eastern coast. Eastern coast is little bit wider enough. And this western coast, it is divided into three parts. The coast, the total coast from here to here, no? This total coastal area, it is divided into three parts, children. And those three are Konkan coast, and along with that, Canara coast and Coromandel coast. Konkan coast, it touches Maharashtra and Goa, children. Maharashtra and Goa. Whereas the Canara coast, it touches Karnataka. And whereas the Coromandel coast, yes, sorry, not Coromandel coast, it is Malabar coast. Sorry, Coromandel coast is on the eastern side, children. It is Malabar coast. Malabar diamonds, have you heard about it? Malabar coast. And Malabar coast is it touches Kerala. Konkan coast, which touches Maharashtra and Goa. Canara coast, which touches Karnataka. And Malabar coast, which touches Kerala. Okay, so this is how the Western Ghats has been divided. Western coast has been divided. And next, if we go for the eastern coast, it stretches from Mahanandi in Odisha to Kaveri Delta in Tamil Nadu. From Mahanandi Valley, yeah, from Mahanandi to Kaveri Delta towards the south, this eastern Ghats, eastern coast extends. And these plains, they are formed by the rivers Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. This is how they have been formed. This coast has been formed. This fertile coast has been formed by the deposits of alluvium, or by the deposits of the fertile material that is being brought by the rivers Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Penna. All these rivers, they bring very fertile soil, and as such this has been formed, and this is broader when compared to the western coast. The eastern coast is broader when compared to the western coast, and they are known by different names. The eastern coast also, they are known by different places, different names basing upon the region in which they are located. For example, if you go to Odisha, they are called as Utkal coast. In Odisha, they are called Utkal coast, whereas in AP they are called as Sarkar coast. Whereas in Tamil Nadu, they are called as Coromandel coast. Okay, basing upon the region, they are called by different names: Utkal coast, Sarkar coast, and Coromandel coast. And like Gangetic plain, Gangetic plain, these plains also very fertile, because the deltas, here the deltas are developed. What are deltas? Do you know what is a delta? For example, a river is, suppose this is the eastern boundary or the eastern edge. A river is flowing like this, and this river, before it gets submerged or before it joins the Bay of Bengal or any sea, it splits itself into like this and joins. So here a triangular base is formed, and this is called as delta. And these deltas are very fertile, and such Krishna delta, Godavari delta, they are in Andhra Pradesh, and that is why Andhra Pradesh has very rich soils, very fertile soils, and it is also called as Annapurna, because it provides large variety of crops too. And Kolleru and Pulicat lakes are also available in this. In the eastern plain, we have the lakes Chilka Lake, Pulicat Lake, Kolleru Lake. Kolleru Lake and Pulicat Lake are in Andhra Pradesh, whereas Chilka Lake in Odisha. These lakes, they also provide very good fish resource. They are rich resource for the fishing also. Okay, children. And next, we shall go for the last relief feature, that is island. Yes. Have you ever heard that islands are there in India? If at all, what are those islands? Yes, the island. Yes, what are the islands? We have two types of islands. They are, yes, Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep Islands. They are, first is Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and the next one is Lakshadweep Islands. Andaman and Nicobar Islands you find in Bay of Bengal, that is towards the east of our country, whereas Lakshadweep Islands are found in Arabian Sea, that is in the western side, towards the western side of our country. And this Andaman and Nicobar Islands are generally, these are the elevated parts of the submerged mountain range that runs from Myanmar. Myanmar, it is our neighboring country, which is towards the eastern side of our country. And in Myanmar, whatever the mountain is there, the mountain and its name is Arkan Yoma, mountain Arkan Yoma. And this Arkan Yoma mountain, it has been extended towards the south into Bay of Bengal. And this Andaman and Nicobar Islands are nothing but they are the elevated portions of the submerged part of the mountain ranges of Arkan Yoma. Okay, children? And coming to the Lakshadweep, Lakshadweep are of coral nature. They are coral islands. You know what are coral islands? Coral islands are nothing but they are the deposits of the what I can say, the animal deposits, the or when the animals die, their skeleton, which is of limestone, limestone composition. So this limestone, it deposits for years together, and they form an area which is called as island. So it is mainly composed of limestone, and this is coral. It is coral nature. That is why we say coral reefs. If you see, you can find the picture of coral reefs in your textbook. So these coral reefs are nothing but they are the what we can say, the deposits, the organic deposit of the animals or plants, flora or fauna, whatever it may be. The deposits, they just gather, they get together to form a very huge block. That is why this Lakshadweep island is of very less extension. It is almost 32 square kilometers of extension only is found, and whereas Andaman and Nicobar, they are of volcanic type of islands. Actually, they are the submerged part, the elevated part of the submerged mountain of Arka. And this here, to the southmost tip of India, where we find Indira Point, the southmost tip, which is almost at 6 degree north latitude. Almost at that point, we find Indira Point, which is the southmost tip of India. And this southmost tip of India, Indira Point, actually it is a part of Andaman and Nicobar Islands only, but it has been submerged in 2004 when there was tsunami, when there was a tsunami effect in our country. Because of that tsunami, this Indira Point has submerged in the year 2004. And in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Narcondam and Barren Islands, these are of volcanic origin. But then when volcano erupts, the lava comes out and they get deposited, and when it cools down, it becomes a land surface. So these two islands are of volcanic origin, and Lakshadweep Islands are of coral origin. And these two islands have a variety of flora and fauna. That means a variety of wildlife and plant life is found in these two islands, children. And now it is at the conclusion. Now we have to know about very deeply about the relief features of our country, because basing upon the relief features, basing upon the diversity and differences in the relief features, the life of the people in different places also differs. It changes. The occupation changes, the income changes, life standard changes, climate changes, even the vegetation changes, and that is why, in order to find out, in order to know about all such changes, because knowing about India is nothing but knowing all the factors and features of India. So, in order to know all these things, it is very needy for us to know about the relief features of our country. Have you got an idea, children, about relief features of our country? So, this is all about India and its relief features. So, please get into the textbook, children, because this is only very brief session where important points are supplied to you, but you have to go deep with the textbook. Get into the textbook, go through the textbook. It's not only reading the text, but also you have to read the maps also, children. When you read the maps, then you will get a clear cut idea. Okay? Yes. If you have any doubts, then you can refer to your textbook, or else you can make a call to me also, children. Okay? Thank you. And please go through your text. This is all what I can say. Thank you once again.